Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin. Happy New Year. I'm so glad you're here with me in this new year. 2024 is going to be our year, guys. It is going to be our year. It's going to be the year of good reads for all of us. I will say that 2023 was not my worst reading year, but it wasn't my best reading year. It was just kind of average. I had a good time reading a lot of things I don't remember, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the book was bad. It just means that I didn't remember it because, as we know, I don't remember a lot of things in life, books or otherwise. So I'm going to talk to you about some of my top books. And I know that people try to get to like the top 10. I wasn't going to reach that far because it was just like, I felt like I was starting to stretch. And so I've got the top 6 books that were my favorite. And we're going to do this quickly. We're going to be in, out. We're going to talk about what it was, what I liked about it, why you should read it. Maybe, probably. But because you should just read all of them because please. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do because I have talked about most of these books in a vlog, in a wrap up, and if I can remember, I will link all of the places that I've talked about these books down below. So the first book that I have, which is actually very surprising, is Radium Girls by Kate Moore. This was a nonfiction, and this was chosen for me by Nat. I think Nat also gifted me this last year. This is about the girls that were working for a watch company, and they were using radium to make the lights glow, but they were using it in a very specific way. Like they were taking paintbrushes, dipping it in their mouths, and then dipping it into the radium so that they would get a fine point when they were painting on the numbers of the watch. And as time progresses, they start to get progressively more sick from radium poisoning. But at the time, they didn't really realize that it was radium poisoning because the wonders of radium were just being shouted from the rooftops everywhere. And when girls started saying, hey, no, there's actually something wrong with this radium, people did not want to listen to them. They were just saying that they were complaints from women who didn't want to work, who just wanted to get a quick buck, who weren't really sick, and that, or that the illness was from something else. And it really wasn't until like a guy started getting sick from radium that they were like, oh, maybe we should investigate this. But like you go through the accounts of some of the women that were trying to get justice for all of the women that were working in these watch factories. And it's kind of heartbreaking. It is very interesting to see how women were being ignored and their medical needs were not being met and how they tragically passed away, some of them. I had a fantastic reading experience with this. I read this hybrid, I read it and I listened to it on audio and I had a very good time. So I've been thinking about this since I read this earlier this year. So had to make my best of 2023. Then I don't have this book, but I am going to give my number 5 spot to Animal by Kwan. I have talked about Animal a lot. In fact, I talked about it in my worst of, but for different reasons. Animal was my first 5-star book of the year, and I thought I was never going to have a 5-star by the time I got to Animal. It had been a minute. Animal who comes back from the dead because he has gone underground, kind of missing, so that people would think he was dead, but he comes back for revenge, and I like it. I listened to it on audio, and it was an adventure for my ears. I had a fantastic time. This is not a book for everyone. This is street lit and it's not going to be for everyone, but damn it, did I have a great time. We've got a little bit of love, we've got a little bit of revenge, and we just have this one murderous man who's going after everybody. It was just a fun time. And then I made Ray read it, and she also had a fun time. And then we ended up buddy reading the rest of the series, and then we did not have a fun time. So if you pick up Animal, I would stop at 1 and you can just imagine whatever happens in the other 4 books for yourself. Or if you're feeling like I do want to continue, stop at 3. Just stop. That's where it needs to stop. In my number 4 spot, I have Lakewood by Megan Giddings. This was a book I read for Black Aweenathon. I forget what the prompt was, but this is medical horror. This is about a girl who decides to undergo some medical testing because the company is like, hey, we'll pay you. And she's like, you know what? I need money. I need money really bad. And you get to see all the process that she undergoes when they just start giving her things to test. They don't tell her what it's for. They rarely tell her what the side effects may be. And she experiences some really crazy side effects. And she starts to hallucinate, like, is this really happening? Or am I making this all up? And she can't really tell anybody about it because the things that are happening sound crazy. Sound crazy. In fact, this book affected me so much that I was having crazy, crazy dreams. I mean, I would like read this at night and have the wildest dreams ever. And I mean, so how can that not make a list? It was so good. It was a fast ride. It was just intense. You got to see how people really sell themselves when they have no other choice, and how companies prey on that and take advantage of it. And fantastic, fantastic time. I was supposed to have read this many Black Queens ago, but I finally got to it. We did it, and it made the top 6. Next, we have Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. And when I tell you that R.F. Kuang can write an unhinged woman, I mean she can write an unhinged woman, and I love it. This is about Athena and June, who are frenemies. I think that's like the best term for this, because they weren't even really friends. I want to say they maybe have been enemies. Frenemies. They're both authors. Athena is Asian and June is white, and Athena dies crazily. So crazily, in fact, it affected me for a couple of days, and I was telling Ray and Jess, like, I can't eat certain things for a couple of days until I get my mind right. When Athena dies, she leaves a manuscript that nobody has seen. It hasn't seen the light of day. And June is like, you know what? I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take it and pass it off as my own work. The book that Athena wrote has something to do with a Chinese war. I don't remember which war. And then June is just like, well, I can write about this too. I can write about Chinese history, even if I'm not Chinese. And it just opens up a can of worms. And the further you descend into June's thinking and mind, you're just like, girl, are you okay? The answer is no, but are you okay? And I think I read this in a day or two. Super fast read. Loved it, hands down. I will definitely always read something by R.F. Kuang, no matter what. Next, in the number 2 spot, we have Scorpica by G.R. McAllister, and this is about the 5 queendoms of Paxum. Did I make that up? Where's Paxum? It is Paxum. Oh my God, I can't believe I remembered that. So there's this land, Paxum. There are 5 queendoms, which I just think is very interesting because normally they're kingdoms run by men, but all of the queendoms run by women. There are no men in charge anywhere. And this is great until they have a drought of girls, and girls stop being born for quite a number of years, and they're trying to figure out why it's happening, what's going on. There's one queendom, Scorpica, that are like more military based, and so they're like, we can't have this. We need more warriors. Like, eventually our other warriors are either gonna die or just get too old to like keep warring, armying, I don't know, militarying, I don't know. And so they're like, we've got to figure out how to get more girls. But then the other queendoms also like, we need to protect our girls and maybe figure out how to continue on with the line. Like, maybe men do need to be in charge in cases like this. And so you really get to go between all of the different queendoms. And you're also following a couple of key characters who have a big role in the drought of girls. And you go on an adventure with them all through Paxum. I had a very fun time that this super female-led fantasy, which was sometimes very sweet and gentle, but oftentimes very violent. And I loved it, and it was so unapologetic. Such a good time. I will say, I moved on to Arca, which is the second book in this series, and I was a little disappointed. I did not finish it, so I had Ray tell me what happened because she was reading it, and I think I'm intrigued enough to continue on to the third book because Ray told me what happened in the second, so I feel like I know enough to go on to the third, and we'll see where it goes. I assume that there are 5 books in the series because there are 5 queendoms, but who knows? Oh my gosh, we're getting to my number 1. But Interestingly enough, every book was written by a woman. All of the leads were ladies. I love that. And so my number one, I think about it all the time. It was one of the strangest experiences I've had this year, and I loved it. And that is Natural Beauty by Ling Ling Wang. And when I tell you, this was the most fun I've had all year. All year. And I've read about some skin suits this year. I have read about talking dragons, even though that didn't make sense. Not the talking dragons part, just the entire book, the whole plot. Anyway, we're not here to talk about why things are bad. We're here to talk about why things are good. We have this unnamed narrator who works for a cosmetics company. And prior to working for the cosmetics company, she was a very accomplished pianist. And there are things that happened in her life that caused her to not be able to piano anymore. And she ends up having to like take care of her parents because they are now in a facility because they can't take care of themselves. And she's like, I just need to figure out how to make life work so I can care for my parents, I can care for myself in this world that is just not always forgiving, that is very expensive, and just doesn't always have the room for people who aren't quite making it. And so she starts to work at this cosmetics company, and the weirdest shit happens. Like, I don't even think if I told you half of the stuff that goes on in here, you'd be like, yeah, but like it does. And I just think about like how people get so obsessed with the beauty industry and strive to be the most beautiful, most perfect form of themselves. And what are they willing to go through to become that? And we explore a lot of that in here. It was so weird. It was so weird and I loved it. It was so much fun. I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what else. Read it. Be weird with me. Those are my best books of 2023. I feel like I did this in less than 20 minutes and I am super proud of myself because we all know I talk too much. Like I said, I will drop links to where I talked about these books so you can get my more detailed thoughts about them. Have you read any of these? Did you like them? Are you thinking about reading any of them? Because I want to know what your thoughts are when you read them. What were some of your best books of 2023? Because I'm always looking for a good read. So tell me, let me know. And until next time, bye.